Today we're listening to Purple Mountains by Purple Mountains, which was the project by singer-songwriter David Berman. The project debuted in 2019, over a decade after the dissolution of his previous band, Silver Jews. And I'm posting this video on the 7th anniversary of his passing. Maybe I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go along. Of course, it was a very tragic passing, and so yes, of course, it was very tragic that this album came out in 2019, the same year. So it was shortly after this album came out that he tragically passed away. So I don't know how to say that, if I'm allowed to say the S word on here, or simply that he unalived himself. I think it's a silly phrase, but once something like that happens, it's hard not to view the album also and the songs and on that album in that context. Yeah, the name of the project is kind of interesting. Derived from Four Purple Mountain Majesties in the song America the Beautiful. And he says there was a purple mountain right behind the studio that he recorded this in. But I think we will just go ahead and get started with the music, starting with song number 1, which is That's Just the Way That I Feel.
Well, I don't like talking to myself, but someone's gotta say it. Hell, I mean, things have not been going well. It's time I think I finally fucked myself. You see, the life I live is sickening. I spent a decade playing chicken with oblivion. Day to day I'm neck and neck with giving in. I'm the same old wreck I've always been. And when I see her in the park, it barely merits a remark. How we stand the standard distance, strangers stand apart. Of course I've been humbled by the void, much as my faith has been destroyed. I've been forced to watch my foes enjoy ceaseless feasts of schadenfreude, as the pace of life keeps quickening beneath the bitching and the bickering. When I try to drown my thoughts in gin, I find my worst ideas know how to swim. Well, a setback can be a setup for a comeback if you don't let up. But this kind of hurting won't heal, and the end of all wanting is all I've been wanting, and that's just the way that I feel.
Some honky tonk vibes going on.
I met failure in Australia. I fell ill in Illinois. I nearly lost my genitalia to an anthill in Des Moines. I was so far gone in Fargo, South Dakota, got annoyed.
Yeah, really good track to start this album with. And if I recall, the band that was playing on this was called Woods. I'm surprised I remembered that. Yeah, I was just recognizing that with the trumpet and the horns in there. As I mentioned, they kind of had a little bit of a honky tonk sound. But this album, I mean, it's largely the lyrics do take a lot of weight in this album. I know that David Berman, he was a poet also. Have Actual Air also, which is a really good collection of poetry. I definitely recommend reading that if you like David Berman's lyrics. But this first song kind of strikes me as, to me, it strikes me as more like inspirational. So I think we should just jump to the lyrics on this one. Might as well, because what else can I say? Um, I mean, I loved the piano and I loved the guitar, and it did have a little bit of a, like, it has a honky tonk, but also that trumpet kind of reminds me a little bit, gives it a little bit like a Spanish flavor to me. Well, I don't like talking to myself, but someone's got to say it. Hell, I mean, things have not been going well. This time, I think I finally effed myself. Sometimes the only person you can rely on to be the most honest about the events in your life is yourself, and that's exactly what Berman illustrates here. He doesn't like talking to himself for this exact reason, as it is his own inner monologue that points out when things are going wrong. But at the same time, he's forced to listen to himself because there are things going wrong in his life that need to be addressed. And as Berman states, someone's got to say it. And just by the way, I don't care that he's using the F word. I'm just sparing y'all from. It doesn't bother me one bit, but I know maybe some people don't like it, so I'm gonna do my best. I mean, this totally, again, like, I can't help but see every song in light of how he died, you know? You know, he took his own life, and it's obvious from the start things have not been going well. You know, that's going to affect your decision making down the road. And when you read a line like that, you may not know exactly just how bad things are going. So, but you know, when he keeps going on, you see the life I live is sickening. To me, that's a real sign that something's wrong. If you see your own life that way, and so he says, I spent a decade playing chicken with oblivion. Day to day, I'm neck and neck with giving in. I'm the same old wreck I've always been. And I do know, like, I've read, you know, some of the interviews and some of the history, you know, with depression and so forth. Spending a decade playing chicken with oblivion, to me, suggests, I mean, if you're someone that's struggled with like suicidal ideation, that's what that reminds me of. I know personally I've struggled with it myself quite a bit throughout my adult life. So when I read these lyrics, I'm totally identifying with, you know, the way that he's seeing life as a, you know, constant ongoing psychological struggle. So let's just see what Genius says. I sat on the sidelines for my entire 40s. What man does that? I don't know, you know. Um, this is just the type of thing that, to me, David Berman really, who, by the way, he lived not far from me. He lived in, I mean, I know he's from Williamsburg, and I'm from like Hampton Roads area, which, so it's not very far. It's too bad I never, you know, I kind of would have liked to have met him, but I never. This was before streaming. When Silver Jews was out there, I just couldn't buy everything that I wanted to listen to. So that, you know, and that was before, I think maybe Napster was around, but I'm not going to get to everything. I sat on the sidelines for my entire 40s. It suggests to me maybe that the problem isn't with him and that his tragic passing. When I heard about that, I was angry. Not at him. I was angry at society. I know, the record label came out and said it was a chemical imbalance. Okay, maybe. I don't really buy it because I've taken a lot of those drugs in the past that were supposed to, because I struggle with depression, anxiety also, and those drugs, eventually I just got off of them. After trying a bunch of them, they just didn't seem like they were working. So, and I remember reading that he had treatment resistant depression. I don't know if I have the same thing. And that's what I'm trying to get to about his death is someone like him should be paid for his art, for his work, for his poetry. I remember reading that the label took him in because he had nowhere to live. And that the type of work that he was doing was not something that he could sustain himself with. I'm just getting far too deep into this now and I was afraid this might happen, but when you put lyrics like this in front of me and me knowing about his history, I just feel like something has to be said. Like, why does this happen? Especially now, you can see it pretty clearly now that the how inhumane our society is when companies are willing to just toss humans aside in favor of AI so long as they get the profit and their mansions and whatever, their yachts or whatever, their lifestyle. I've seen how little these corporations care about people. We need people like David around. All right, moving on. I'm the same old wreck I've always been. I feel like, yeah, giving into what? Giving sounds like giving up to me. So in the chorus, and when I see her in the park, it barely merits a remark. So this line refers to David's wife, Cassie Berman. It's wordplay wherein he calls her name without saying so. Yeah, so then we're going to get into the history of his divorce. I think it's just highlighting the kind of estrangement that happened between them. How we stand the standard distance, distant strangers stand apart. Of course, I've been humbled by the void, and this might be talking about. The phrase appears on page 100 of Friedrich Kunath's book, You Owe Me a Feeling, which features photographs by Michael Schmeling and text drawn from David Berman's notebooks selected by Kunath and Schmeling, according to Art Daily. The book's text is comprised of a series of single lines written by Berman. Between 1998 and 2005, Berman had a practice of writing 20 lines every day, which was inspired by the writings of Harry Matthews. So, of course, I've been humbled by the void, but to me, that specific line is living with a sense of emptiness and actually trying to confront the emptiness or the void and realizing that you can't overcome it. So much of my faith has been destroyed. I assume he means religious faith, but I'm not 100% sure on that. I've read some saying that he was somewhat more religious in his later years. I've been forced to watch my foes enjoy ceaseless feasts of Schadenfreude, which literally means harm joy. It's a term for pleasure derived from the misfortune of others. That reminds me of our elite leaders today. I don't know, I just get the feeling it doesn't matter anymore, like which side we're talking about on the political spectrum. They've shown that they do not care about the average citizen. They might as well just be enjoying are the average citizen's misfortunes and inability to thrive in society. And I think this is what David was experiencing and what he was speaking about. So it's kind of like his enemies have been making popcorn and enjoying the show as he repeatedly comes upon hard times. And this is a distressing sight all its own. And as the pace of life keeps quickening beneath the bitching and the bickering, when I try to drown my thoughts in gin, I find my worst ideas know how to swim. I think it's a pretty funny line, actually. Your bad ideas suddenly become good after drinking. Well, so here finally, this is the part that I find inspirational. Well, a setup, or sorry, well, a setback can be a setup for a comeback if you don't let up. But this kind of hurtin' won't heal, and the end of all wanting is all I've been wanting, and that's just the way that I feel. There's a lot to unpack just in that chorus. And actually, there's a lot of wisdom in this chorus, too. If you just take those first two lines, which to me is saying a setback isn't always just a setback where you're losing time or you're losing money or whatever it is, but it could actually be the setup for a comeback. Or you're being set up, possibly a setback could actually be a setup for future success. I don't know if in this case he's talking about a setback leading to the creation of this album, possibly. Let's see what Genius says. This highlights a hint of optimism in Berman's thinking, as these lines are analogous in meaning with the ubiquitous adage, when one door closes, a window opens. I haven't heard it put that way. I've heard when one door closes, another one opens. Berman recognizes the potential for an emotional comeback, but also notes that there can be a significant amount of work involved in doing so. And he says, but this kind of hurtin' won't heal. Possibly a sly nod to Kenny Rogers' Feel Bad, 1977 hit Lucille. I've had some bad times, lived through some sad times, but this time your hurting won't heal. I could see David Berman being a fan of Kenny Rogers. I know he is a fan, or has been a fan of, some of those more country western style artists. I know he was a fan of Johnny Paycheck, who wrote Take This Job and Shove It. So that's why I say it wouldn't surprise me. And then the end of all wanting is all I've been wanting. Yes, sounds very Buddhist to me. In Buddhism, that is kind of the objective. And I think in Buddhism, they speak about it more as craving, that the end of suffering, or suffering ceases when craving ceases. Let's see what Genius says. Buddhists believe that suffering is caused by desire. David Berman wants an end to his desires so he can stop feeling the suffering of disappointment. The second line acknowledges the futility of this desire. You can't stop wanting if you want to stop wanting. It's kind of a catch-22 there. Yeah, that's true as well. In Buddhism, your desire for peace can actually block you from peace because the desire is so strong. If you're sitting in meditation, even an attachment to peace can become an obstacle to your meditation, or a hindrance, as they call it. So, and that's just the way that I feel. There's a lot of, they seem to be finding a lot of ties to country music. Like, that's the way I feel, performed by the late, great George Jones. But going back to this previous line, Berman might be implying that death is the only escape from this paradox. I wouldn't say it's the only escape, but yeah, it's a permanent escape. I don't know. Like, that's where I think the Buddhist monk would disagree. The Buddhist monk might say, Well, the Buddhist monk lives in different conditions than what the average layperson lives in. I totally understand why death is considered the only escape in this instance, but I'm not sure that that's really aligned with Buddhist teachings. Like nobody's going to say that the end of desire is based. You have to physically kill the body to do that. That's not what Buddhism teaches. It's more about meditation and really just, in a way, becoming more intimate with the way desire works and becoming more, just aware of desire instead of trying to suppress it, which is what we do. So it's actually in seeing desire that you can start to see how you're conditioned to act according to your own desires and that you don't always have to act on them. So, and then in verse 3, I met failure in Australia. This is a whole long story. So I'm never going to get through this video if we keep stopping. Apparently, there's this whole story about him being knocked out of a slot at the 2009 ATP Festival in Australia, which was curated by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. So apparently he said something about Nick Cave. I don't know if that was the real reason or not for his being excluded. There's one story I heard about David Berman, so it wouldn't totally shock me if that was the case. I remember hearing the story about him going to an early Nirvana show and just like heckling the band. And this was before Nirvana actually made it, So I don't know, it's pretty interesting. It's almost like he knew before everybody else that this band was going to be huge. So he probably thought they deserved to be heckled. I fell ill in Illinois. I nearly lost my genitalia. It's a mischievous ode to his longtime friend, Bob Nastanovich, who lives in Des Moines. I was so far gone in Fargo, South Dakota, got annoyed. That's the shit I'm talking about when I talk to you about ceaseless feasts of Schadenfreude. 35 minutes into this video, and we haven't got to track 2 yet. Oh my gosh. This is going to need some editing. And then I have to rank this. And this is going to be one of those rankings that I know could change from day to day. Well, I think a lot of times I put these in like bronze, which is kind of in the middle. But I've noticed that they tend to only go down from there. So maybe I'll put it up in silver. And then we'll see where it ends up. So I think we'll move on to track 2, which is All My Happiness Is Gone.
Friends are warmer than gold when you're old. Keeping them is harder than you might suppose. Lately I tend to make strangers wherever I go. Some of them were once people I was happy to know. Mounting mileage on the dash, double darkness falling fast. I keep stressing, pressing on. Way deep down, some substratum, feels like something really wrong has happened. I confess I'm barely hanging on. All my happiness is gone. All my happiness is gone. afternoons ago. All my happiness just overflowed. That was life at first and goal to go. Me and you and us and them. And all those people way back when. All our hardships were just yardsticks then, you know. You know. It's not the purple hills, it's not the silver lakes, it's not the snow cloud shadowed interstates, it's not the icy bike chain rain of Portland, Oregon. Nothing's wrong, no one's asking, but the fear so strong it leaves you gasping. No way to last out here like this for long. 'Cause everywhere I go, I know. Everywhere I go, I know. All my happiness is gone. All my happiness is gone. It's all gone somewhere beyond. All my happiness is gone.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's like a Mellotron or something, but I remember this was the first song I heard by Purple Mountains, and I saw the video of it, and it immediately reminded me of I Melt With You by Modern English. You know, that's a loud, uh, it's got a similar kind of chord progression, but of course the lyrics are a little different. The way it's sung is similar, but there's variations there. And of course the verses are completely their own thing. But I've always kind of agreed with like what Sting once said that all music gets recycled anyways. So, and I don't believe that anybody owns music. It's just there and you're there to help it manifest. But I don't believe anybody really owns it. Otherwise, this one also, pretty much every song has good lyrics. There's always at least one or two stanzas that I like. I love the line, or this, I love the stanza, lately I tend to make strangers wherever I go. It's just that strong sense of estrangement, and maybe from people that you used to know or were friends with, could be relatives too. At least, you know, I don't know if he faced that, or, you know, I know that his wife, he was estranged from. So, yeah, I mean, I can totally relate to that. Were there any other lines that I confess I'm barely hanging on. I mean, what can you do? I'm surprised, you know, that he was as open about this. This scene, like this, that's the first thing that really struck me when I first heard this, was just how he seemed to just be airing things out with no apologies, with no self-censoring. And I like this line about, what was it? That was life at first and goal to go. Like looking back and looking back to better days, happier days, and also using this football analogy, which I know he was also into football for a while. I know he was a fan of, I think it was the Tennessee Titans, because I remember they paid a tribute to him after his death. And a lot of these songs, I guess I'm ranking them based on the songwriting because every song is played by the band Woods. And I think they maintain a fairly consistent sound across from track to track. So it's not going to be like wildly different from one track to the other. So I do feel like, in the production, it's going to be similar. So I do feel like I'm judging based more on the song and the lyrics. I think this one goes in honorable mention for now, and we'll see if it gets bumped out or if it holds on. And I think we'll move on to track 3, which is Darkness and Cold. Those tambourine hits.
She just met. She kept it burning longer than I had right to expect.
That acoustic guitar is definitely a constant.
Without a flicker of regret. Darkness and cold rolled in through the holes in the stories I told. Conditions I'm wishing weren't taking control. Darkness and cold, darkness and cold. Light of my life is going out tonight. She don't look too depressed. The light of my life is going out tonight in a pink champagne Corvette. I sleep 3 feet above the street in a Band-Aid pink Chevette. The light of my life is going out tonight without a flicker of regret. Darkness and cold rolled in through the holes in the stories I've told. Conditions I'm wishing weren't taking control. Darkness and cold, darkness and cold. Darkness and cold, patiently encroaching on the animal. Whether or forever retaking control. Darkness and cold, darkness and cold. Darkness and cold, darkness and cold rolled into the holes in the stories I told. Conditions I'm wishing weren't taking control. Darkness and cold, darkness and cold. Darkness and cold, darkness and cold.
That's such a good song. And I think if I remember reading correctly, I think it was one of David's favorites off of this album too. I don't know if that was just lyrically or the song as a whole, but the chorus is really catchy and strong in this one. And I don't know, I think the entire song is catchy too. The verses are really kind of hook me in. And I don't know if you've seen the video. I love the video for this. And like, it shows him in his, I guess it's his house or the house that he lived in with his wife, Cassie. And she's actually in the video too. And then, and this song is kind of about them and they're splitting up. So I kind of find it slightly surreal that they would do this video together. But at the same time, it's also really just cool that they would agree or that she would agree to be in the video too in a song like this. So it's like, yes, I hate that, you're moving on, you're probably, seeing other guys or whatever. Let's make a video about it and we'll be together. And there's just, again, lots of very good lines, conditions I'm wishing weren't taking control. And the light of my life is going out tonight. To me, it has a double meaning. Like, yes, it could be about, or I think the obvious interpretation is it's about his wife is going out with, you know, somebody else. But also, the light of my life could mean like my sense of optimism or joy, will to live, maybe. Again, I'm seeing it in light of his death, that this also was probably a part of, what contributed to it ultimately was, just not being able to make things work in the long run. And there are consequences, like emotional consequences, when this happens. So I don't think there's too much else other than I would recommend, if you haven't seen the video, to definitely watch that. I think this is more, overall, it's just a more straightforward kind of a song lyrically. The place that he's in as a result of their splitting up and her moving on. But as on a musical level, I love that harmonica that comes in and just a super strong chorus. So I'm not sure if I need to move. That's just the way I feel, down, or just give Darkness Cold the gold, maybe. I think I'll just do that and then see if anything else can knock it out. I think it's worth gold, though. I mean, it's one of the most memorable songs on the album for me. I think we'll move on to the next track, which is Snow is Falling in Manhattan, which I don't see the lyrics for.
Snow is falling in Manhattan in a slow diagonal fashion. On the Sabbath, as it happens, snow is falling in Manhattan. If it looks like it might be a bad one, good caretaker springs to action, salts the stoop and scoots the cat in, tests an icy patch for traction. Snow, snow, oh, oh, oh. Snow, oh, oh, oh. Snow, oh, snow, oh, snow, oh, oh, oh. Levels rising on the island, shows no sign of soon subsiding. Drifting deeply down in Brooklyn, so much joy in merely looking. Inside he's got a fire crackling, and on the couch beneath an Afghan lies an old friend he just took in, seeking shelter from the cold wind. Coming down in smithereens of Staten Island, Bronx and Queens. It's blanketed the city streets, and the streets beneath fast asleep. Songs build little rooms in time,
Love the horns on this track.
and housed within the song's design is the ghost the host was left behind to greet and sweep the guest inside. Stoke the fire and sing his line like snow, snow, oh, oh, oh. Snow, oh, oh, oh. Snow, oh, snow, oh. Snow, oh, 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 oh.
Oh, I love that. Is that vibraphone?
Snow is falling in Manhattan. Inside I've got a fire crackling, and on the couch beneath an Afghan, you're the old friend I just took in.
Oh, you can hear the piano coming in. That's just a really great track with the piano and the organ, and then you've got the acoustic guitar strumming, pretty much hearing it over here on the right side. And just these little additions with the, I think it's a vibraphone. It says, it doesn't say. Trumpet, of course, organ. You know, on just a musical level, this is, if you told me this was your favorite track on the album, I could see why. Because musically, I'd be close to agreeing with you. It just has a certain vibe to it. And it is, again, those parts are really hooking me in when those trumpets come in and those little vibraphone or xylophone, whatever that is, just so well played. And the melody just keeps getting me more and more into the song. And I feel like I can totally see this whole scene of snow falling in Manhattan, and just these little images. I feel like the entire song is about capturing this whole kind of day where it's snowing and what's going on with the cat being taken in. And I think it's one of those songs that's about capturing the feeling of this more than anything else. And there's not too much, behind it, other than maybe, songs build little rooms in time, and housed within the song's design is the ghost the host has left behind. Yeah, so the imagery of ghosts appears in later in the song Nights That Won't Happen. But otherwise, I don't feel like it's about like a hidden message or anything like that. It's not like the other songs where it's just like hitting you with all these little bits of like wisdom and insight. This is more about just capturing the feeling of being immersed in this kind of atmosphere and the weather and so forth. That makes it more difficult in a way to try to rank it, because now I'm weighing musicality versus the lyrics, and I do know the lyrics matter on this album. I feel like it could at least be a bronze winner here. And I don't know if it's going to hold the spot, because I'm kind of comparing it to That's Just the Way I Feel. That one just has a little more to offer overall with the lyrics, and it's also a very catchy song too. So it's I don't know, it's very close. I know I say that a lot, but at least in this moment, Snow is Falling in Manhattan has a bronze. I'm not sure it's going to hold it, but I do think it is probably one of the better songs on the album, as far as being one of my favorites, especially on a purely musical level. But since I do have to take into account the lyrics as well, that's why I'm putting it just under That's Just the Way That I Feel. So now we have track 5, which is Margaritas at the Mall.
Reminders I've been stranded on this planet where I've landed, neath this gray as granite sky, a place I wake up blushing like I'm ashamed to be alive.
Love that driving acoustic.
How long can the world go on under such a subtle God?
Lyrics right there.
See the plot of the flawed individual looking for a nod just drinking margaritas at the mall. 'Cause happy hours got us by the ball.
Horns again.
Orange, acid green, peacock blue and burgundy. Drinking margaritas at the mall. We're drinking margaritas at the mall. Drinking margaritas at the mall.
That's just another one I really love. We're only halfway through this album, and I can see just how difficult this is going to be trying to rank the rest of these because I feel like all these songs are my favorites, and somehow I have to rank them. But I really just loved again the horns coming in. I don't know. Would you call that Mexican flavor? Or a Mexican influence? I keep feeling like that, or maybe Spanish influence on the trumpets there. But in this song in particular too, I really just love the lyrics and the interplay between his questioning God and versus this kind of almost mundane image of drinking margaritas at the mall. So, yeah, this is one I did want to actually look at the lyrics on a little bit without hopefully not spending 20 minutes on it. Drawn up all my findings, and I warn you they are candid. My everyday begins with reminders that I'm stranded on this planet where I've landed beneath this gray as granite sky, a place I wake up blushing like I'm ashamed to be alive. So, especially that last line, well, and even just before that, the planet where I've landed again, it just reminds me again of this sense of alienation that I can relate to. I feel the same way that, as somebody that was or has been mostly creative, artistic, I felt nothing but stranded on this planet. And as someone who's never really benefited much from what they call the American dream, I just feel like it just wasn't for me, I guess. But I think more and more people these days are waking up to that. I've known it for a long time because I wrote a song about it like 20 years ago, which I won't mention how I released that, but it just shows that it's not anything new to me, but I totally relate to his sense of alienation here, and beneath this gray as granite sky. So it's not really the most happy landscape, I guess. And just waking up feeling like you're ashamed to be alive is kind of goes along with what he was just saying in that last song about it being in his 40s and sitting on the sidelines. It's not a great feeling. You don't feel like you're really participating in life much. So I'm going to try to just maybe bypass Genius. I think there was something here. Yeah, a reference to the opening line of Dinosaur Jr.'s The Leper, where they started out with a similar line about being ashamed to be alive. Let me see if I can pull that real quick. Embarrassed to be alive is how that one starts. How can a world go on under such a subtle God? Yeah, this is my favorite part probably of this song, How Can a World Go On with No New Word from God? I do like the description of a subtle God. And there was an interview in the Aquarium Drunkard where David Berman talked about how the prophets had something I didn't have, which was a line on God. They had actual communication. Maybe if there was, I would have hung in there, but I was attracted to the social justice aspects of Judaism, and I was attracted to the prophets. That's why I call it a subtle God. I'm being sarcastic. It's kind of angering. You get to the point that if you do believe in God, you get angry at God, and then nothing happens. Exactly. What's the point in believing in God if you're just going to get angry at God? The way I see it is, if he does, if God's a he or she or whatever, if God exists, then what is God doing? God must not be all powerful to let this hell realm exist, which is the place we live called Earth. But you're not allowed to get angry at God. It's kind of angering. You get to the point that if you do believe in God, you get angry at God and then nothing happens. So your anger is just futile. Although I'll never rule anything out, I'm not an atheist in any way. Even if God exists, what's the point? So how long can a world go on with no new word from God? Why back in the Old Testament were people able to communicate directly with God, but only those biblical people, they're special. The rest of us, we don't have that line of communication with God because we're not special like they were. Anyways, see the plot of the flawed individual looking for a nod from God, trotting the sod of the visible. We're just drinking margaritas at the mall. That's what this stuff adds up to, after all. In magenta, orange, acid green, peacock blue, and burgundy, drinking margaritas at the mall. You know, most people drink margaritas at the restaurant or at a bar, and that's why I just find it funny. I don't know. I just keep picturing them like in the food court, drinking margaritas. This is Berman's distilled image of banality and crassness. And this not so I agree here with what Genius is saying. This line nods at the absurdity of life, an incredible journey of limitless potential, a long and winding road that might as well just lead you to have a few drinks at the mall. Without meaning and guidance, it's hard to let go and find color in everyday things, and they just mush together into a gray as granite sky. Standing in the shadows of the signpost on the road, 50 gates of understanding, 49 are closed. So this is in the Torah. The 50 gates of understanding refers to the period between the Israelites' exodus from Egypt and the receiving of the 10 Commandments at Mount Sinai. So technically, there were 49 gates, or 7 weeks of self-evaluation, followed by 1 day of prophetic revelation. By 49 closed, Berman now on the 50th day is revealing that he hasn't really learned anything at all. Yes, I guess this time I really hit that number on the nose, what I'd give for an hour with the power on the throne. That's a pretty bold statement. I totally get it. Like, it's about, why is God, if there is a God, why is God so powerless to help us? I think that's what he's getting at here. I'm not sure that I would want I might think I would want that power, but I it's that amount of power is so great that I would probably say no thanks, or I would just be so afraid that I would do something wrong and just cause the complete destruction of the universe on accident or something. I don't know. It's just, but it suggests that God is powerful in the way that we think he is. It's just we don't have access to that power. So how long can a world go on? So this continues on pretty much the same. See the plot of the flawed individual looking for a nod from God, trotting the sod of the visible with no new word from God. Yeah, a lot of rhyming words in there. Why is there no new word from God? Only those words are officially from God, but why would God just stop communicating with us then if God exists in the way that they say God existed? Wouldn't there be like a third testament or something else that we could say, here's the new word from God, or here's an updated version because times have changed? And especially now with technology taking over, where is that really covered in detail in the Bible about AI and machines taking over? And it makes me wonder if eventually, if the Bible will just become so outdated that we're going to need a New Testament or something like that, or an updated New Testament to deal with these problems that they never had before back then. Because and that's what David is saying, we need something to deal with this inhumane capitalist system that we're living in, instead of just, people continuing to fall through the cracks, making, while the elites thrive and have their parties, and the gap between the elites and the average everyday citizen continues to grow. Where's the morality in any of that, in the way that this rigged system that is becoming harder and harder to not even just thrive, but just to survive in? People don't believe in, the past word of God. They don't see it as relevant anymore. So, and it's kind of understandable if it doesn't lead you to some kind of understanding of the world we live in today. Instead, we have people translating the Bible and the New Testament, Old Testament, into trying to fit it in or apply it to how we live today. But I think capitalism has its own unique problems that go against, like, say, the teachings of Jesus or something like that Christianity often doesn't account for. They just try to merge it with the capitalist system to make it work for them, while at the same time you're being hypocritical to what Jesus actually was here for and what he taught. So those two things cannot always be reconciled until until the system changes to something more humane, where everything isn't decided based off economics and whether or not you have a job just to survive. There's another one where I've gone on for too long. No surprise. Did I rank this one? I have to say I really like the lyrics, but I'm not sure that I like it more musically than like Snow is Falling in Manhattan. So I think I'm just gonna put it honorable mention for now. I've moved everything into some kind of metal slot, so something's gonna have to come back down probably. It's just really difficult at this point, but we'll move on. We still got 5 tracks. So this one is called She's Making Friends, I'm Turning Stranger.
I wanna be tantamount to cordial, tantamount to good. I wanna be a warm and friendly person, but I don't know how to do it. She can't make it to her car without making a new friend. She's a small town superstar, everybody hollering her name.
I like that bass.
She's making friends, I'm turning stranger. The people on her end couldn't make it plainer. Sometimes I wish we'd never came here, I'm held in such disdain here. She's making friends, I'm turning stranger. I see lots of normal men yearning to obtain her. I'm a loser, she's a gainer. That's one thing I wish they're danger.
Music guitars. Seems like it's always over here on the right side. That slide electric guitar there.
Friends, and really I can't blame her, 'cause when she's home again, she's always still the same her. God knows I'd never try to change her. She's my friend and I'm a stranger. Friends, and I'm turning stranger. She's making friends, and I'm turning stranger.
Pedal steel. Which is not the same thing as that slide guitar we heard earlier. Yeah, the pedal steel has a certain sound to it and a way of playing it that's more finger-picked than just using a slide guitar on the electric. I'm probably just going to say every track is good on this album. Some of the standout lines are... I mean, this one, again, is going back to the estrangement feeling with his wife or former wife, and how he wants to be a warm and friendly person, but doesn't really know how, whereas his wife is more extroverted and can easily make friends. Meanwhile, he's, as was mentioned in the earlier song too, how he's turning stranger. And what was the song we listened to where I think it was the first, or All My Happiness Is Gone, where he's been making strangers instead of friends. And here it shows up again. And you can just tell that the people that she's making friends with just see him as, they look down on him because he's held in such disdain here. So, and then of course, it's always nice to see other men yearning after your former wife, I guess. I'm a loser, she's a gainer. I love that contrast there, because it does suggest also that he's losing friends while she's gaining them. And so was there anything else? There is the sense like she's my friend and I'm her stranger. That's an interesting line. So it does suggest that there was never, and a little bit from what I read, it didn't sound like this was like some tumultuous breakup. It was almost kind of like they were still kind of friends, but it just wasn't working out. And I'm Her Stranger just suggests a misalignment in their views. So I think this might be the first song that I just maybe leave it, even though I do like the song. I do see there is still one honorable mention. Nah, I think I'm gonna leave it. So I think we'll move on to I Loved Being My Mother's Son.
Way back when I first begun, starting when I first was young, through all the years that were to come, I loved being my mother's son. Yeah, I loved being my mother's son. I loved her so because she was so good and kind to me. She was.
This one I'm hearing the acoustic more balanced on both sides. Love that accordion. Love the simple tambourine hits.
She helped me walk, she watched me run, she got where I was coming from. And when I couldn't count my friends on a single thumb, I loved her to the maximum. Yeah, I loved being my mother's son. I loved her so because she was so kind and genuine. She was, she was, she was. 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 She was, she was, she was.
Yeah, I really love the interplay with those two electric lead guitars there at the end. I feel like this song definitely has a little bit more of an emotional impact on me because, writing a song about your mother is going to it's gonna pull at the heartstrings a little bit. And it is actually a pretty catchy kind of song too. The,
She helped me
the
walk,
verses are
she watched me run, got where I was coming from.
have a certain cadence that hooks you in,
She was,
and
she
then
was,
it's just very
she was, oh, because
whatever
she
that
was so kind and genuine. She was, she
that melody on the
was, she
verses,
was. She
something
was,
about
she
it,
was, she
it
was.
generates this.
She was, she was, she was.
Especially with that, with the female vocalist.
She was,
Sure, I'm reading
she
Anna
was.
St. Louis, maybe, but I don't know. I'm gonna say yes. But that's Genius does not tell me, but I'm reading elsewhere. Okay. I think because of that emotional connection with this song, that I see it more similar to like Snow is Falling in Manhattan, kind of similar vibes. But I think I'm gonna have to take Snow is Falling in Manhattan down a notch to honorable mention, and then I Love Being My Mother's Son up to the bronze. But yeah, that's just a beautiful song and a beautiful kind of almost a tribute to his mother. And we have three more songs left, and it's just not this song. I mean, this album just doesn't let up as far as good songs. It's just good all the way through. So here we go with Nights That Won't Happen.
The dead know what they're doing when they leave this world behind. When the here and the hereafter momentarily align. See the need to speed into the lead suddenly decline. Dead know what they're doing when they leave this world behind. And as much as we might like to seize the real and hit rewind, we're quick in our pursuit of what we're guaranteed to find. And the dying's finally done, and the suffering subsides. All the suffering gets done by the ones we leave behind. All the suffering gets done by the ones we leave behind. Nights that won't happen, time we won't spend. Time we won't spend with each other again, with each other again. Ghosts are just old houses dreaming people in the night. Have no doubt about it, hon, the dead will do alright. Go contemplate the evidence, I guarantee you'll find. The dead know what they're doing when they leave this world behind. Nights that won't happen, time we won't spend. Nights that won't happen, never ever again. never reaching the end. Nights that won't happen, never even begin, never even begin. This world is like a roadside inn, and we're the guests inside. And death is a black camel that kneels down so we can ride. The dying's finally done, the suffering subsides. All the suffering gets done by the ones we leave behind. All the suffering gets done by the ones we leave behind. On nights that won't happen, time we won't spend, time we won't spend with each other again. Nights that won't happen, never reaching the end. Nights that won't happen, we can't even begin. We can't even begin.
I think the way that I experience it departs from maybe the way that David intended for the lyrics to be about, because I can't help but see the song in light of his own death. And in that case, I see this as a much more profound song than any of the other ones on a lyrical level. But I also do, I just love the music part of this, the composition, the addition of the female vocalist. I think it's on the album credits, but it's just beautiful how, especially there at the end, where he's singing and she's singing the same lines. It just has a very powerful effect. And I know there's the line that I was thinking about as I was listening. I think it's from a Silver Jews song that all his favorite singers couldn't sing. And that's always a line that I've appreciated because I never considered myself as a singer or a vocalist. Any of the music that I made I only sang out of necessity. And I think it's been helpful to me to be able to appreciate the way someone sings, even if it's different or maybe outside of what everybody thinks is a good singer. And I think David himself fell into this kind of category where you just simply appreciate the voice coming through, regardless of whether he's considered the best singer or not. I think we can look at the lyrics a little bit. I say that every time, but I'm just hoping not to go down a rabbit hole every time I pull these lyrics up. This one, as I said, I can't help but see it in light of his death. And the way that he's singing about the dead just makes me feel that he knew that this is how it was, and this maybe he had a premonition of his own death coming and his own decision to leave this world behind, that he knew what he was doing. Of course, what I was reading was that it was really about his mother passing, and that, so according to this Exclaim interview, he says it was about the loss of his mother and her and a few friends. It's a burn the bridges type song, and there's probably some anger in it too, but it's like the early years of your marriage when you have all of these hopes and dreams and then thinking about what won't happen when with someone because they're dead or you're separated. He describes death very well, I think, in when he says when the here and the hereafter momentarily align, which is kind of like the moment of death. Let's see what Genius says. And it does have a little bit of a comforting, the whole song to me feels comforting at the same time. So yes, I agree here that even though we know it's primarily about Berman's mother, unlike I Love Being My Mother's Son, it could be about anyone. It suggests that the dead have some control and peace in moving on. And leave this world behind suggests an afterlife, but doesn't assume one, reflecting the unifying nature of death and grief. When the here and the hereafter momentarily align, see the need to speed into the lead suddenly decline. I see that as, in light of death, what really is the hurry? And I see that more in speaking to the way that we live our lives in this inhumane capitalist society where everyone's trying to get ahead of somebody else. In light of death, none of that matters anymore. The dead know what they're doing when they leave this world behind. And as much as we might like to seize the reel and hit rewind or quicken our pursuit of what we're guaranteed to find, when the dying's finally done and the suffering subsides, all the suffering gets done by the ones we leave behind. Well, so it's interesting. This Genius annotation says when you kill yourself, it's always going to be the one that loved you that will suffer more. You might be done and at peace, but your loved ones will hurt and miss you. And that is true. And I'm not sure if that was an impetus for any of these lyrics or the song to be a reminder that if that's what somebody chooses to do, that they should think about how their actions will affect those around them. Nights that won't happen, time we won't spend. I think the chorus is getting more at the anger part that David was talking about in this interview. And if I see this again in light of his passing, I think if you see it that way, he's seeing the end of the road ahead. He's seeing all the nights that he could have been living, but he can't live in this society anymore. And so these are nights that won't happen anymore. This is time we won't spend together. This says that the chorus is a play on Nights in White Satin. That certainly does seem to be the case. Nights in White Satin, never reaching the end. Yeah, it sounds very similar. So yeah, I could believe it's a play on that. Time we won't spend. There is the frightening thought of never spending time with the loved ones again, but on its own, The line can also suggest a state in which time itself ceases to exist as a concept, and one is therefore freed from the human condition. But yeah, again, I can't help but see it as David's own premonition of what was coming. That because when you make that kind of decision to leave this world behind, that you're going to you realize the loss of so much at the same time. I think the anger behind that, there again, I keep sensing there's an anger behind that too. Like, who's to blame because these nights won't happen? And I feel society is to blame for that. Again, it's not David's fault that these nights are not happening and that he's not still around to experience these nights. I remember reading around that time that he was getting ready to embark on a tour, and I think he probably just didn't want to go through with it, with all the trouble of that. And just, those were the nights that never happened, that tour that never happened, because he didn't have it in him anymore to go through the trouble of that. And that's, the society just creates so much difficulty that, we've made it too difficult for some people to even live or to survive, much less thrive. It's becoming a greater gap between those who thrive and those who are just getting by. And I think it's because we've made things too difficult. So let's move on to verse 3. Ghosts are just old houses, dreaming people in the night. That has to be like one of the most poetic lines in this entire album. I just love that image there. Commonly in folklore, ghosts are spirits of the dead who have unfinished business. This wouldn't align with the comforting tone of the song. I don't know. I don't want to read too much into that. But to me, it's kind of anthropomorphizing the house as being almost like a living thing that's dreaming up these people that live in it. Have no doubt about it, hon, the dead will do all right. I like that line too. And I would totally agree that it's just another way of putting it in more, I guess, earthly terms, doing all right. Because the dead, they don't have, and they don't have to deal with all these problems and the frustrations of trying to live in this world and dealing with all the greed and the delusions of that people live by. When all of that ceases, yeah, you're gonna do all right. I'm just trying to think what that also makes me think of. That dead will do all right. To me, it just suggests there's really nothing to fear with death. Yeah, and that's kind of the way I feel. I don't fear death. I might not want to go through some of the pain that might lead to death, but I don't. I'm not afraid of what's going to happen, whether there is an afterlife or there isn't one. I don't really care. I kind of just feel like I don't have great expectations. It's like, if this is it, then, that's fine with me. If there is something, okay, great. So surprise me. I mean, of course, there's the Buddhist idea that we're reincarnated. That's possible too. But there's also in Buddhism that there's kind of a goal to eventually stop reincarnating. Because do you really want to keep coming back and suffering through this existence? And I've heard other people call this life on Earth a hell realm. I can believe it. Not that it's all bad, but overall, yeah, just too much suffering. Yeah, it reminded me also of Alan Watts saying that I'm just paraphrasing that eventually it's a mercy of nature that eventually we forget everything. And I think that's part of why death you're going to be fine when you die because you're not going to remember all this horrible stuff that happened for an eternity. That's just not I don't think that's possible. I just I don't see that because I think about how much I've already forgotten. Imagine how much more I'm going to forget when I've passed away. The human memory, it just can't remember everything, and to think that you're going to carry every single memory for an eternity, I don't think so. All right, so what else do we got? Go contemplate the evidence, and I guarantee you'll find the dead know what they're doing when they leave this world behind. So I don't see that as advocating dying or choosing to unalive yourself. I think it's more just an affirmation of there's nothing to fear with death. And so I think that's about it. Nights that won't happen, never reaching the end. Again, that's echoing Nights in White Satin, never reaching the end. That has to be a play on that song from the Moody Blues 1967 song. And then verse 4 does have a little bit more to offer. This world is like a roadside inn, and we're the guests inside, and death is a black camel that kneels down so we can ride. Taken from the Turkish Arabian proverb, death is a black camel which kneels at every man's gates. So just a really, this song just gets so deep into a topic that most songs are not talking about, not at this deep of a level. So I think for me, even though maybe musically it might be more similar to Snow Was Falling in Manhattan or I Love Being My Mother's Son, the lyrics for me are the best and the most profound. So I think I'm gonna have to take All My Happiness Is Gone down, even though it's kind of hard. And I think I Love Being My Mother's Son, honorable mention. That's just the way that I feel. Moves down to bronze. Darkness and Cold moves down to silver. And I think it's also has to do with, again, how I'm feeling these days. And maybe a year from now, I'll have a different gold. All right, so we got 2 songs left. So track 9 is Storyline Fever.
Unable to perform some simple task, trapped at the stage of analysis. Thoughts of the shortness of life may beget bouts of shortness of breath in your chest. Doubts about the worth of the nights you got left, crowding out all but fear and regret. You got storyline fever, storyline flu. It's filtering how everything looks to you. Don't you reckon it's affecting your attitude? Storyline fever got its hooks in you. Storyline fever got its hooks in you.
It's also a very Buddhist song.
Marketplace in the wanton corner of a western state where every other shopper is a basket case, just realizing the horizon forms a frowning face, hanging around guess there are protected exceptions to it. You got storyline fever, storyline flu, apparently impairing your point of view. It's making horse shit sound true to you. Now it's impacting how you're acting too. Now it's impacting how you're acting too. Circa ab scam sting. Make a better Larry than Lizard King. But you gotta find a way to make it work, cause defeat is where your demons lurk. And when you're seller and commodity, you gotta sell yourself immodestly. Turn your pedestal into a carving board, if that's what the audience is starving for. You got storyline fever, storyline flu. You're filtering how everything looks to you. Don't you reckon it's affecting your attitude? Storyline fever got its hooks in you. Storyline fever got its hooks in you.
Love that interplay of the guitars there. That delay. As I mentioned, it sounded very Buddhist to me because Buddhism talks a lot, at least from the teachings that I've heard, that we develop the storylines about ourselves that aren't necessarily true, and they affect the way we see ourselves, the way we see other people, and it can affect our actions as well. And things, what we say, what we do, could be filtered from a wrong perception about reality. So, and it's again very catchy verses, a catchy chorus too, and some funny lines in here too. What was the one? There's one that I thought was really kind of funny. Yeah, just hanging around those haunts at night where half the clientele were part poltergeist. Um, yeah, it's just about how a wrong when you're believing stories that aren't true, then other things that aren't true are going to start. You're going to think those. You're going to start falling for those stories too. So, I mean, it's getting almost impossible to rank these at this point because now I'm just nitpicking what I like or don't like about something. And if I had, I think what I'm seeing it competing the most with would be Margaritas at the Mall. But I still like Margaritas at the Mall better because of the lyrics contrasting God versus this mundane existence. Whereas this one, I think, is a little bit more just straightforward. This could easily be like a Buddhist theme song. So I think I'm gonna just leave this one where it is and move on to the last track, which is Maybe I'm the Only One for Me.
On holidays, in lonely haunts, at closing time, in restaurants, I can't keep on pretending not to see.
Country Western
Yeah, I'm
Rabbit.
starting to suspect, though I hope I'm incorrect, that maybe I'm the only one for me. Holding hands, starlit walks, making plans, silly talk. All I see are couples in the street. I always had a hunch I would crumble in the crunch. Yeah, maybe I'm the only one for me. Only one for me. Only one for me.
This is sounding like a country
Only
classic.
one for me. I'll put my dreams high on a shelf. I'll have to learn to like myself.
This has a very good
Maybe
song structure to it.
I'm the only
Very catchy.
one for me.
That pedal steel again.
Bended knee, honeymoon, nursery, another soon. Into my mind the thought begins to seep. If no one's fond of fucking me, maybe no one's fucking fond of me. Yeah, maybe I'm the only one for me. Only one for me. Only one for me. Only one for me. I'll put my dreams high on a shelf. I'll have to learn to like myself. I'll put my dreams high on a shelf. I'll have to learn to like myself. Maybe I'm the only one for me. On holidays.
Yeah, that's a hit song right there. That's a country western hit song. This is gonna be so difficult. This is one of those songs though that I haven't easily forgotten. It's one of those songs that has stuck with me because it's exactly how I've experienced life, that relationships don't work out. So what's the point in continuing to try to chase after that and realizing maybe I'm the only one for me? It's kind of it's a sad realization, and I'm sure he was feeling that at the time with what he went through with his breakup. And then the part about I'll put my dreams high on a shelf, that's the really sad part to me. Is and as I keep saying, like, the society we're living in, we need to realize that the system is rigged and it needs changing, but the elites aren't having it. They aren't listening. But because we keep making things harder and harder, more and more people are putting their dreams high on the shelf, and that includes relationships and starting families and things like that. If you make it too difficult, how do you expect us to how do you expect people to keep wanting to even have families or get together at all if life is too difficult and we can't afford to live anymore? And so you end up like David here. You end up alone, and myself included, um, because it's not worth the trouble, and you can't be with somebody that also doesn't realize this and thinks that they're just going to squeeze everything out of you, and um, just for example, somebody that's not good with money, or somebody that's irresponsible, and whatever. It's too difficult to save money when our wages don't increase with anywhere near the same rate as inflation. And those economic factors are destroying us right now as a society, and it's getting worse. And I think David saw this coming. He was already experiencing it, because it has been going on for a long time now. This isn't anything new. It's just we're reaching a new crisis level. And I'm sure he just didn't care to stick around to watch the shit show that's going on now. And I totally get that, because I struggle with the same feelings of not wanting to continue in this life, because you have to keep questioning, is it really worth it if your talents and what you have to offer, if it's not economically viable, or people don't see the value in it? How are you going to survive? Is our life, we're just meant to sit in a cubicle, which that isn't even available. Even getting a cubicle job now is very difficult. And I I don't know. I don't know if I have any real answers. I just think David, his life was a reminder that this capitalist society does have a dark side, and there are casualties involved, and a lot of them we never hear about. We just happen to hear about David. You're just never going to get me to agree that, yeah, it was David's fault for that. I'm never going to agree with you on that, or that society is fine. You just need to hustle harder, hustle harder, and life's unfair, and all these excuses when it doesn't have to be that way. And so, I don't know. I'm glad that. Oh, did I? I didn't rank it yet, did I? Oh boy, such a catchy song. Uh, I think I don't want to move Margaritas at the Mall. It's my problem. But I see it's. I feel like this track is competing with That's Just the Way That I Feel. I feel like that's about where it is on that level, and I would have to bump out one of these honorable mentions. I don't want to move Margaritas at the Mall or I Love Being My Mother's Son. That means Snow Is Falling has to come out, regrettably. But I had a feeling this was eventually going to come down at some point. So That's Just the Way That I Feel moves down to honorable mention. Maybe I'm the only one. For me, moves up to bronze. So congratulations. Again, I feel like that song could easily have been like on the radio, hit song, but the only reason it's probably not is because of the lyrics. Because they don't want you telling, they like you telling the truth, just not too much of the truth. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they would play that one. I mean, that could be like a what's her name? That could be a Casey Musgraves hit song, you know? So nice of when I was darkness and cold, silver. Maybe I'm the only one for me. And again, I think that summarizes where David was in his life at that time as well. Is another reason I think it's so strong track. That's just the way that I feel. That's a really good song, but maybe got caught up in the intro feel, I guess. That always tends to lower it a little bit for me. And then I Would Be My Mother's Son. Margaritas at the Mall, I had to give it something. But like I said, it's just too many good songs. If you had it in some other order, I would say, yep, that's good too. This has been the longest recording I've ever done, so I'm gonna have to edit it down quite a bit to something watchable. But I just David Berman is one of those artists that is always in the back of my mind. He never leaves. And I wasn't even into Silver Jews. It was this album that put him on the map in my mind and made that kind of an impact. So I think I've covered everything that I wanted to talk about with this album. But we know that every track is a winner. So let's hear it for these tracks. Every track, every song, whatever you want to call it. So if you enjoyed listening today, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one.